What's up, Rockstars? Today I finally have Marvel Zombies. This is the zombicide game where I can actually play as heroic superheroes fighting zombies, all for $35 with minis. Let's see what that got me. Thank you to my channel sponsor Into the AM. As a company that believes hard work and a great product is a proper way to conduct business, I am delighted to have them as part of the channel. They have some of the coolest graphic t-shirts around and an absolute best fit and feel that has continually exceeded my expectations. With new shirts arriving all the time and other products like boxers, hats, and even a monthly shirt club, I wholeheartedly recommend them to you. Check out the link in my description of this video for an exclusive 10% off everything they sell. Alright guys, before I break the seal on this and show exactly what's in here, just note that this is going to be a very detailed unboxing. By detailed unboxing, I mean I have one of these to measure cardboard thickness, height of miniature, etc. So just be prepared for that. This was $35. If you are keeping track, that's about 1/10 of the price of being able to play as heroes in the Kickstarter version of this game, because you had to have the core game plus an expansion to unlock hero mode. So if you're just in it to play some heroes, and I'll do a review to kind of decide how much of a zombicide game this is, especially this version of it. But suffice it to say, a lot cheaper, right? 1/10 of the price. So it was about $350 ish to get it shipped to you, and this was $35. So it looks like we got some minis here. The back is definitely, you know, made for retail, right? It shows a little bit of the game and then a little bit about it and then kind of what you get. I like seeing the component here. It is in 2 different languages here, and on the front it does say knowledge of English required. So just as an FYI, I believe they only make this in English actually. So there is that. There is some Spin Master stuff here. This is actually Spin Master and Come On kind of partnering together. So I believe the minis are still Come On. I'm actually going to have to flip this over again to kind of cut the seal here. And it's very tightly wrapped, like extremely tightly wrapped. It looks like there's a little bit of a gap. Normally, they make these boxes actually slightly larger just so it opens up easier. And if you find a corner, there'll be at least one corner that's a little bit more open than the others. And typically you can use that to kind of start to open it. At least that's what I tend to do. All right, let's see if I can't get this. The plastic wrap seems about average in thickness. It's certainly not the thinnest I've had, but certainly not the thickest either. So kind of in between there. Maybe a little bit more on the thinner side. Perhaps some Kickstarters I've gotten, but plain box, it's fine. It's, you know, is what it is. It looks like it's wrapped pretty well. It's a little bit of a corner here, and it looks to me, if I were to hazard a guess, slightly to the right, because you see how this image starts wrapping down over there, and then it moves here, right? And that's that line. And this line though is a little bit above the curve, so it's a little bit slightly to the right, just ever so slightly. What is that, like a half a millimeter or some junk like that? All right, for opening it, certainly is a tight box, but it's a small box. The taller it is, the worse it can get. So that's not too bad at all, right? It's just that little bit. Inside, plain cardboard and fairly thin, but you know what? For the size, this is not bad at all. It's actually perfectly fine here. Okay. We got Come On, free Come On content. Get it here. There you go. You can go ahead and scan that to your heart's content. Also a little URL down there. Feel free. Let me know what it is. I have not seen that yet. So you tell me what that was. I would love to hear what that is, and I'm sure other people would too. You know, some people are kind of cagey about when it comes to scanning things. Now, this is something that I understand why they do that. So you see how this is like perfectly, first of all, it is flush. There is zero space here. I mean, there's no give, right? That is perfectly sized. However, I very much dislike when they do this with rule books. So this is nice for packaging, but to be honest, I care very little about how it's shipped or even how it sits on my shelf not being jostled around. What I care about is when I'm needing it at the table. And when I need a rule book at a table, I need 2 things. I need an index and I needed to not take up a whole lot of space and be all like floppy and stuff like that. So I would prefer it to be this kind of like normal size, where like this part is gone, even if it's a little bit thicker, but to have it to where it's not quite as wide, because this is just unwieldy. It's too much. Do you see that? I mean, it's like, it's really wide. So I don't really care for the size of this. I prefer mine not to be square, but rectangle. That being said, let's see how many pages we have. Let's see if we have an index. Let's see what's going on here. So on the back, we do have a little bit of a a helper sheet, right, or a reference sheet. So you can leave this on the table and you can see the enemy phase, the player phase, the end phase, and the target list. The target list you'll want to kind of look at every so often as you're getting used to things. So that's kind of nice. It's normal Zombicide stuff. On the back, very last page, which is important, we do have an index. Now the index, let's see how much of an index it is. It's iffy. So it is in alphabetical order. The difference between a table of contents and index is an index is in alphabetical order. It's not based off the headers in your game, and it'll list every page that is needed to read everything about a rule. So sometimes if you want to read line of sight, it might be in an example, and it might also be in when you're shooting at range, and it might also be mentioned in an elevation portion, just as an example. So here I'm only seeing single pages. It could just be that the rulebook is laid out sufficiently to where you don't need multiple pages. That's certainly possible, though typically unlikely. So yeah, it'll be kind of interesting to see how helpful this is. I'll let you guys know in the review. But it is in alphabetical order. It is easy to find there. And obviously with stuff like hits and dice and combat. And I mean, obviously I don't think this is a header based. And with that, 30 pages, but it has scenarios in there as well. So it's not 30 pages as a rule. Here's a table of contents. This is based off of header and subheader with the page number of each of those. Table of contents, I like this. It shows both a picture of what it is and the text of what it is. What I appreciate about that is sometimes, it might mention bystander cards, but I don't know which one they are, and being able to see that certainly helps. So you get all these different zombie hero standee or miniatures and superhero miniatures, and then standees, 50 zombie standees, a ton of zombies. That's 10 brutes, 30 walkers, and 10 runners. So you're fighting mostly walkers. Sometimes you get some runners. Every now and then you get a brute. And then these act as kind of like the abominations, is my understanding here. And we have some bystander standees as well. 4 double-sided tiles, so 8 facings total, but just 4 in normal. And I think I want to say each scenario probably uses 4 of them, I would think, but maybe not. We'll see. Otherwise, we got cards, we got colored bases. These are probably hard plastic, and you can tell because it has a little notch in there. If you paint your minis and you put a hard plastic one in there, it's going to scratch the rim if you paint the rim of it, which normally you do to make it look pretty clean. So I prefer the silicone or rubber versions of those, but that's all right. And we got some tracker clips. Moving on over, I think we probably have a few more here. We have an experience dials, which is kind of interesting. Normally you have a little tray with these little clips, right? These clips kind of move around and track that. Looks like you get that for your hero card itself, and then your experience track, you go from blue to yellow to orange to red, typically. And then the standee stands and some tokens and whatnot. And again, that free content, I believe that's the exact same thing. It's the same URL there, so in case you missed it, there you go. We recommend reading through all of these rules carefully. Okay, well, we can certainly do that. But one thing to note is that it looks like it's pretty well done. We got some call-out boxes. We got arrows pointing to different things to kind of explain different portions here. It starts with something like an overview and basics. I really like those kind of, hey, what are you trying to do? And hey, how do you generally kind of do it? Then you can dive into specifics around line of sight and movement. And it's kind of weird to explain line of sight before movement, I feel. It seems like movement's a basic thing. Line of sight's typically a little bit more advanced, but that's fine. We'll see. Enemies, experience, danger. Yeah, this looks nice. Definitely a lot of, it's fairly small text. So, if you got some aging eyes, you might be concerned about that. And there's actually a fair amount of like margin and stuff. Like there's a lot of wasted space. I would have liked to see the text a little bit larger and perhaps this kind of edged a little bit more. But we got 20 pages of rules, and then we get into missions on page 21 through 30. So plenty of missions there. So that's fun. Okay. All right, there's that. Let's get back to this. We're going to see some of this cardboard here. We're going to see, oh, look at that. We got a nice plastic tray there, so that's nice to see. We'll look at the minis last, of course. Okay, so these are wrapped. This is often to help with shipping, actually, not really to help protect it or anything like that, because it's one item you put in a box versus making sure you get all of these. And oops, I missed that one, or I did 2 of these. So it's already pre-packaged, ready to go. You put it in the box, you're done. So it kind of simplifies things. This is a good sign. It typically means you're not going to get missing pieces or, you know, an improper amount of tiles or, you know, anything like that. It kind of simplifies the process in a good way. All right, so we got a little bit of extra there. This is the exact same thickness of wrap, as far as I can tell from the outside, which is pretty normal. Every now and then you'll get thinner ones on the inside and a thicker one on the outside, but with how thin this is, it's kind of a wrap everything in it kind of thing. Very detailed artwork. You can see that right now. We'll take a look, obviously, at scale and you know, all sorts of stuff. Zombicide is not to scale, so you often get. Oh, come on! I hate when it does that. There we go. All right. You'll since you feel like a little bit of a giant in there, but a lot of this is the tiles. We've got some of that, some of this. Okay, we'll take a look at all this. We'll put those to the side. Now, first things first, before I even punch anything out, let's go ahead and take a look. So when they cut this, it'll be curved on one side and flat on another. Now, as you play a game and love it and cherish it and play it for years and, you know, hundreds of millions of times and get your money's worth out of it, even if it's only $35, you're going to start wearing on those. And that's kind of what I'm trying to mimic here a little bit, just to see, like, what does a played version of Zombicide look like? And this is pretty normal. Well, okay, sort of. So often you'll see 2 things. You'll see flaking, which you're getting a tiny bit here. You can see a little bit of that yellow, that white line right there. You can kind of see that. More concerning is the peeling here. You see that little bit of a peeling there on the side? So as it kind of, you know, you pick up the tokens and you move them around, you can get that, and it starts to kind of spread when you do that. Let me see if that happens kind of everywhere, or a lot less here. Not too bad. Not too bad, but certainly a little bit of appeal. So you're definitely gonna know when this is played, right? You're gonna see that. Now that shows the worst because it's black to white. Normally it's a kind of a white layer on the bottom. Though most of these are dark too, so like it might not show as much on these, for instance. Okay, well that punches out quite well. We'll do a reverse punch out also. You can see a little bit of the tags here. So it definitely does have tags, quite a few. I mean, like a ton here. And there's like an indent here. I don't know what that's like. What caused that? Is that on both of them? Why does this one have this huge indent there? What the heck was? There's actually 2. Look at this. So there's an indent right here. It's like the hole punch missed. So there's something punching a hole in here, and it kind of wedged into here and then wedged into there. That's unfortunate. I don't see that done anywhere else. I'm assuming that's probably not normal. Where like they missed the punch. What the heck happened there? So let's punch this one. You saw how many tags there are, by the way. Reverse. Oh, I'll punch that out. See if you even can. Oh, you can, but man, it pops. I'm not seeing too much peel or anything like that. Sometimes you worry about it like peeling or anything. There's a little bit of perhaps, I don't think that's actually damage here. I think that's just part of the design. So here you see all these little cracks and stuff. So it has all these little cracks in there, and that's part of the little slash of the white. So that's nothing. So yeah, punched out just fine. We'll do some corner ones. See if we can't get it hanging. So you can get a little teeter-totter thing going on here. That's fun. But, you know, all of these tokens, I mean, none of them are, like, super big anyway. Try going, no. Okay, there was a little bit of a hanger right there, right? So, again, what you kind of worry about, you see that little bit of a split there? You want that to only happen on this, right? Not the token. Now, I think that looks fine, but it did add a little bit of a tag there, more than perhaps normal. But yeah, I mean, these punch out fine, honestly, especially if you're just doing it normal. This is no problem at all. So yeah, that looks good. I can't do any of these kind of funky shapes. It looks fine. Yep, looks great. Even this came out good. That's nice. Okay, put down that here. Do a few standees. Okay, it looks like just kind of 2 rows of that and a little Avengers and whatnot. So yeah, oh, look at that, looks fine. Oh wow, look, that's fine too. All right, yeah, this looks fine. This is no problem. No problem at all. Okay, so we got all that. We're gonna try and stay a little organized here. My future self will thank me when I have to pick this up after I'm done filming. All right, so we got some cards here. Let's go and take those off, and then let's look. We got the tray. So this is your hero cards. I like this. I very much appreciate it. Sometimes they wrap these with the silicone or the cellophane wrap that they have, and it's really annoying to kind of cut into cards. So I appreciate the little resealable thing there. Not that I plan on resealing it. Let's see. So we got Spider-Man. Let's zoom in a little bit. Oh, no. There we go. Spider-Man, Black Panther, Wasp, Hulk, Vision, and Winter Soldier. Some good picks and some oddities, right? Spider-Man, of course. Black Panther, thanks to the MCU, quite popular. Wasp, I understand in the MCU, but I mean, definitely sidekick material, right? Hulk, I mean, guys, that's like classic. You don't have to be a comic book fan to know Spider-Man and Hulk. Vision, again, MCU made him quite popular. Winter Soldier, same thing. Actually, not a big deal in the Marvel Universe, but in the cinematic universe it is. So I think overall, all of these characters have been seen on big movie blockbusters. So that's a good sign. No like deep cuts or anything like that. Was Wasp probably being, I think, the oddest one out there, in my opinion. Okay, so looking at this, it looks like we have a tracker here. We're going to have 2 trackers, one on each side. It's kind of weird. So I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's your super power stuff, or I'm not sure. This is something new. And then, of course, you have your health here, right? So you're at 3 health, you're at 2 health, you're at 1 health, you're dead. So, yeah, I'm not sure what this is. Not your experience. So perhaps your amount of... I don't know. Well, I'll find out, of course. And then on the back, it looks like you just get some art. I'm assuming it's unique. It is. Okay, cool. Cool. They do have, by the way, this a lot by the looks of it, and I like that. It's a very comic book. Back when they used to do like the dots of the old school, like Golden Age comics, stuff like that. Silver Age comics, even, you'd see that, so that's cool. And I believe all of these match the miniature. So we'll take a look. So we do have this here. It is kind of odd how like the yellow has a +1 action. It's very small though, but that's okay. I think that's okay. I think that's right. A little hard to read here in the corner here. You got like some gray on gray. This isn't really a black. It's a dark gray text. But overall, it looks good. Again, smaller text, but all right. You get your different heroic rescue, web shooters, spidey sense. So each one is uniquely named and looks to be fairly thematic. Flyby attack, biosynthetic waves, diminutive size. Yeah, that's cool. I dig it. I dig that. Now these are just going to be like, super loose in there because there's no lid on them. Let's go and take the whole tray out here. So we'll take a look at the tray. Oh, I forgot to measure. How could I forget? Let's see how thick this is. This is 20 or 2.48. This is very standard even for Kickstarters. Around 2.5 is what you're looking for. Typically it's a little bit under 2.5. Let's take a look at the box itself. And at the box itself we're at 2, right? So right there at around 2. Which, again, a little skinny, as I said. See, it's funny how, like, you mention stuff like that, but then you measure it and you know for sure, hey, look, I was right. No mold or anything like that. I didn't see a silica packet, though. Would have appreciated a silica packet in there just to keep things a little drier. You see, they do have, there's no lock-on lid, but they do have indentations here, which I appreciate. Let me zoom out for you guys. There you go. These little indentations will fit the mini, and it actually looks like it's actually formed to it. So you see, that's where his leg is right there. So each one is kind of uniquely there to kind of set them in there, and then this inlays on top of those just to keep them in there. It looks like it might support sleeved cards. Maybe not for these guys, but there's plenty of extra space here. So I think that's sleeved. It could be sleeved here. Now, let's see, Copyright Marvel, and then I see an MZB001. I'm not sure what that is. This tray, though, I'm going to actually take these guys out so don't mess them up. Very thin, right? You hear that? So if you hear it kind of crackling, that means it's thin. Now, it's not the thinnest, believe it or not. You can get thinner than this, but it's certainly pretty thin, especially those sides there. The worry you can have is sometimes these can get split, and they actually create kind of sharp points. The other thing to note is the kind of grippers here. So see how that kind of shoots out to the side here? So right there, you see how that shoots out? See how this is straight down and that shoots out? That is to kind of help grip it in this box. Typically works, but if you're taking them in and out, it'll scratch the sides of your box. Now, these are quite skinny, but to keep it shape, I'm going to flip this over very carefully. It does have that cardboard box to kind of help support it, which is nice to see. I do appreciate that. If you're going to have skinnier stuff, just keep it in the box. And most people aren't taking that out anyway. But just again, keeps it nice and secure, not caving in or anything like that. So far, so good. Whole bunch of standees. I'm not going to show you guys standees. I'll put one in there just to see. But what I will say is they do have the little grippers in there. So when you put the standee in there, it is, in fact, here, I'll go and show you what I'm talking about. So we'll take the big guy here. We'll take a standee. It'll mark where it is on the little standee here. So, and that's the most common kind. But it's both, right? So you see how it's a little concave. See how it's angled in, but then you also have these little grippers there, and let's see if those actually mark them or not. So the little grippers are right in there, like inside. You can see where the line is, and that line actually digs out a little bit there. There you go. You can see that now. So inside of there are those little things that typically mark this up. But let's see. So we're gonna put them in. Oh, it's super tight. Yep, and sure enough, I almost guarantee that is, but we'll see. Coming out, boop, and now right there, you can see the mark that was left. There you are, from the right there. So over time, if you're doing that back and forth, I wouldn't suggest it. What I would suggest you do, go ahead and put them all in, leave them in, and just dunk them in there. Don't take them out each time I put this in a baggie. Just put it in there, just like that. Boom, there he is. Put them in like that. I think that's your smartest choice, and there's plenty of room in there for you to do so by the looks of it. Okay, this is for the spinners. We'll check that out. You should have just two different sizes there. Here are the little clips. We'll check that out as well. And you know what? These are not super hard, but they are hard. So they're not super really bendy, but good colors. I do like them. So that looks nice. And that's everything there. I can put those back in. I guess let's go ahead and check these out, and then we'll check out the dice, I think will be next. So we got some spinners here. Take some of those. We'll take Spider-Man for the clips. Let's take a look. We'll do this first. Let's do a spinner. So sometimes this can, be really tight, and it can not really work well, and sometimes it can work quite well, and it's really nice when it works. So you're gonna get a small and a big, right? So there's big, there's small. Okay, now you're gonna want to put the big one in first, and I typically kind of put them, I think, actually down like this. Woohoo! Oh man, don't worry guys, I got it. Okay, so I normally stick them in like that. Okay, and then we'll put this in like this, and there's the spinner. Works very well. It's tight enough to where it's not loose, right? So it's not gonna like lose its spot, but it turns just fine. And these little divots in here help. A lot of times people will only keep that as a circle, and it's a little bit more awkward at that point than you're typically doing it by like the pointer. But yeah, this looks good. It's not quite as nice as the clippers, but sometimes those are really hard to move too. And there's a lot of small numbers here too, so just be sure you're exactly on 10, right? But yeah, that should look good. Now, this is one thing I was kind of concerned about, is it does leave a little bit divot in there. If this was a little bit of an indent, that would be great, because as it stands, it does wobble a little bit. So as you're moving that, you kind of have to hold it and then move, which is fine, but it is a little awkward when it does that, right? But yep, looks good. Okay, cool. There's that. Let's do these. See, Spider-Man is probably in this one. Let's go in and put him as red, I think. I think he would be red in this case. So we got two little trackers here. There's these little plastic pieces. Nothing too bad. It looks like you probably want that little corner there. So it'd probably be like, no, it wouldn't. It's going to be like this. Like that. Okay? So you can kind of track that one and track that one. This is grippy enough. Again, it's not going to move, but it's not marking the card up at all, which is really nice. That was something I was kind of concerned about. So you can put that here, and again, now it doesn't, right? Now it's a little loose, but I mean, again, you paid $35 for this entire game with the Marvel license and with minis, with like sculpted bases and everything. So yeah, this is kind of cool. A little awkward there at the corners, right? You're gonna have to findangle it, but yeah, no, this works fine as far as I can tell. Let's go to measure this. This one is probably okay because it's not any bigger than this, but the bigger the card and the skinnier it is, the more kind of fragile it is. So it's right at about 0.38 millimeters. So fairly skinny. Not the skinniest card I've ever gotten though, honestly. And it feels nice. There's not like any rough edges or anything like that. It's a nice clean cut. It doesn't feel like paper at all, really. And it seems to have some good spring to it. So overall, so far, I mean, guys, this has actually exceeded my expectations pretty much at every single turn. This is nice. I think the cost-cutting things more is in the design of it, like these on a piece of card like this, more the component quality so far, which is nice. That's really good. I'm really happy about that. We'll look at the dice here. We do have custom dice. Again, that's quite nice too. Dice are pretty cheap to do, even custom. You just kind of have one mold, and all the dice are made from that, right? They're all the same. So I do appreciate that. It's more, honestly, like painting into that can sometimes be a little bit of an issue, but yeah, these look good. Let's go and zoom in. There we go. Okay. So we have just kind of normal pips, but they're a fun kind of like kapow shape, and then you have the chompers on the 1, right? So there's a 6, and there's a 1. Let's see. So they are fairly scuffed up right out of the gate here. You can see all the scuffs here. That's actually like polish it down. So when you take it off, it actually has a little bit of a leader there where the plastic went into the injection mold that they kind of cut and then tumble, right? And they tumble, and that tumble gets the paint on it. It gets or at least the coating on it, the little, this shiny coating that you're seeing. It wears that down a little bit. Even there's a lot that it does for you. The painting in this is kind of crap. So if you look here, you can see the shape, and then you can see the paint, and the paint doesn't like really match. Like do you see the paint on the edge there? Do you see how that like doesn't follow the shape very well? And that's like everywhere. I don't know who did their dice, but black tends to show these scuffs more, which is always unfortunate, but none of these are well painted. All of them have paint on the very outside. Now, as you roll this, it might help a little bit, but do you see how it's a little bit concave? Do you see that? See how it kind of dips in on each side? That's to help, I think, with the rolling. Same with this super, it's not a sharp edge or anything like that. So these are going to roll really well. It didn't there, but that's because I'm trying to keep it in camera. But either way, they should roll well, but I don't think that's going to really even wear down, which is kind of a bummer. As you rub them together, that can do it, right? So maybe it'll end up okay. Is that a little bit of a, red, and I mean, you could almost even scrape it. You can almost feel it. They're custom. They're fine. It was a $35 game. I'm okay with it. I'm glad that they're custom. And honestly, I'm not going to put them back in the bag. They're fine there. They're not going to hurt anybody. They got a lid over them, right? Take a look at cards. And then, guys, we have the map tiles and the minis. That's it. that's it. So this does not have one of these. I prefer this than having to put a blade right next to these and cut. And, you know, I mean, this is pretty loose, but sometimes you can get these and they're really tight and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to like cut into things. It kind of reminds me of when people used to cut like the early Magic the Gathering sets. The instructions were in there, so you would cut where the instructions are, so you were sure not to cut like one of the cards. Get off me. All right. So these are very skinny as well. I want to say probably just as skinny. Let's take a look. But their diminutive size makes them pretty small too. Yep, 0.37. So right there, right at the same thickness. But they feel they feel more like paper to me. And I don't know if that's a different. I don't think it's a different cardstock or anything. It must just be the general shape of it. But as you can see, you got a lot of art on display, and I'm kind of iffy on this. Now it does have quite a bit of text. I appreciate quite a bit of text because it means that there's like interesting rules at play, right? So it's not just useless. However, with such a small area for that, you do get a little bit smaller text, right? So it looks fine here. You got it like blown up on your computer, or on your phone, on your TV, wherever you're watching me. Hello. But when it's in a more dimly lit, I got light pumping on this thing. When it's in a more dimly lit game room and it's like way over, you know, somewhere else on the table, reading that then is a little bit of an issue. You kind of have to pick it up or have somebody, what is that? What does J. Jonah Jameson do again? I can't understand. He wants to take pictures of Spider-Man. What's going on? So, yeah, these are cool, for sure. And I like the art. This is why I'm kind of split, because it's an IP game, right? So you want the Marvel theme to come out, and the more art, the merrier when it comes to that. But yeah, these are the Spawn cards here. That's pretty straightforward. All this looks good. All this looks good. Yep. Zombie Hero. Oh no. Oh no. Those A-bombs, essentially. Extra activation. Bystander in danger. It looks like here are some like power-ups and stuff. What is this? So this is kind of new. A heroic trait power-up. Determined. Dash. Focused. Mighty. True Grit. Oh yeah. That's a good movie. Unstoppable, courageous, agile, inspirational, tactical. There's a lot here. Tenacious, guardian. There's 2 copies of each, and resourceful. At the very end, we have an Avengers sign card of some kind. That's a reference card for it. Okay, so the Avengers signed us some. There was a token for that as well. But yeah, I don't know about. So the problem with sleeving is it adds so much space. There's definitely some extra space here. I mean, unless you have really skinny like penny sleeves, I think you're gonna still run out of room. However, there's probably still a lot of room in here. I guarantee you could sleeve them and be okay. All right, now before we get into those minis, take a quick look here at the tiles that we get. We only get 4 of them, so it's certainly not like the most, right? But thickness is probably about the same, right? Right around 2.5-ish, a little bit less. Yep, 2.45, that works. Okay, now I will tell you right now that they're bent. One of the best ways to tell that, however, make sure I'm all zoomed out. Okay, so you can already see, sometimes if you just pinch a corner, right, you can see this way. Look at that bend, wow. Wow, wow, wow. You can also take them, flip them over, and if they were first bent this way, they're now bent that way, right? And as you can see, with all those gaps, they are definitely bent. Again, I don't know if a silica packet would have helped or just better cardboard quality, but I mean, it is fairly bendy. Though, again, I mean, I didn't pay hundreds of dollars for this, so that kind of helps. Yeah, coloration looks good. Sometimes you can get really dark images and they don't print well, but this all looks fine. It's actually nice and bright, actually. Got some really bright symbols on here that are very noticeable, but not like terrible. I mean, they still kind of stand out. But the tiles, and the reason there's an issue with the curve, by the way, isn't even so much this. Sometimes they can get so curved you can't keep minis on them. But you see how it tends to spin because it's only connected here in the middle? And then additionally, sometimes when you get 2 of them together, if they're bendy enough, they start doing this, right? This is not working out, right? So you're gonna have to like hold them there, and then yeah, the bend's bad. That's been the worst part of this whole experience so far, is that bend. That is a rough bend. See, the streets here look a different color, but I think that's fine because it looks like the connecting pieces still match for the most part. it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. You see how you have that little bit of like a gray there? So it works, but I mean, that's definitely like a more purplish, right? Kind of interesting. I don't know why it's a different color per se, but it's different. That's cool. Got different buildings, a lot of different bits and stuff. None of it looks super like fake. Like a lot of times they'll have a painted drawing and then you'll put like 3D images on there. A lot of times they'll actually, you don't have to worry too much about this because there's not really shadows. I guess there are. A lot of times what they do is they actually build this as a 3D model, like a video game. And what that does is it allows them to have the shadows, they'll place the lighting, and then they'll make it 2D. Fun fact, that's how they do a lot of these actually these days on a computer. And it gives you all the shadows printed right on there, the scale's all right and everything. So that's actually how they do it a lot. Some of this, like this, because of the thick black outline, I believe, makes it just look placed in versus something like this that doesn't really have the black outline that tends to kind of just match, right? These look placed in there, but mostly it looks pretty good. Now let's go and flip them over. Oh, they do have the little 1R and they have them in each of the corners. So no matter where you're looking, you're going to know what tire you're looking at. And then here is the other one here. I like the Heroes Fire there. Got the Oscorp there. So some in-brand thing. Oh, look at that. Look at that. They even have the little thing he rides. That's fun. That's cool. The Daily Bugle is not doing so well. I like that. It's nice to see. I mean, they're like right next to each other, which is always kind of funny now. But no, this works. I like it. I like it. Overall, I like the art. Not a big fan of the bend. Oh, and everything in here looks to be to scale, right? Perhaps maybe a little big. Like I think that shoe might be a little big, but maybe not. It honestly looks pretty okay. The text and the writing looks good. I mean, it passes the sniff test anyway. Like at a glance, it doesn't look like anything is the wrong size. A lot of times you'll see like a car in a street and the car's like way too small. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the heroes first because those are fun. We're going to start with Spider-Man here. So one thing to note, color matters on minis for a couple of reasons, but for the most part, all this big lighting is coming down, right? And like these details are very small. It's a small mini, right? And so this looks quite deep, but in actuality, it's like super, super small, right? And so light, it's just gonna spill into it, right? And so the lighter it is, the more it just kind of shows that light, if that makes sense. And so typically a darker color actually shows better. Doesn't mean the detail isn't there. It just means it's hard for your eye to see it. I hope that makes sense. So one of the easiest ways sometimes to get minis that are like a brighter color, like this kind of a brighter grayish blue kind of thing, is to prime it in a darker color real quick. Just a darker gray works. Let's see. So, it is hollow here. This is very normal. You don't want a big solid piece of plastic. Often that'll definitely kind of warp him as they kind of pull it out and everything. So he is all one sculpt. I believe, nope, this arm is separate. So that's kind of nice. And he's separate from the base too, which makes sense because the base is all that sculpted here. So we do have a rubble, and bricks. A little bit of a notch there from that. The fingers being separated is so key for him, and it looks great. I really do like that. The fingers in there look good. Quite skinny, but overall looks actually really, really nice. Yeah, this basing goes all the way to the edge, which is also great to see. You're not seeing any part of the base kind of flat. A little bit of some marks here. It's kind of interesting. I don't know why that's there. It looks almost like this was a separate piece, but I don't think it is. It just is a very distinct line there. There's a little bit of what looks like maybe from a mold line there, but overall it looks fine there. So the cut they did here makes sense because it's just right at a muscle group, which is probably the best place you can put that there. But it is still fairly noticeable how much it angles in, but overall okay. I like that his eyes are sculpted as well. You can kind of hear that. overall, this looks quite good. And he does have all of his fingers, and they are all distinct. Very, very nice. His spider symbol, probably actually the worst part of it. It's just not quite there. Maybe you can see it there. The legs of the spider aren't very defined. Overall, though, quite nice. I think the head. See, it's so hard to tell. I don't think the head is a separate piece, but it looks like it could be, right? There's that little bit of a line there. You know what? I think it is. Either way. 2, 3, 4 pieces, whatever. Looks good. Nice and dynamic. I really dig that. I like how he's kind of farther back to the right, but then reaching back to the front. So you have this really cool, especially with this being up here too, this kind of backside being there as he's facing that way. And he's facing that direction, which I think it's just really nice. It's good. I dig it. With both hands open, looks good. In here, you can see there is a number 208. Is there a number on here? Yes, Marvel Zombies 208, MZ 208. So if you ever don't know which mini goes where, you can just match the number on there, which is nice. And it is sculpted perfectly to him. It's like a Black Panther. All right, so very centered, right? Black Panther is here. And a very different base. Okay, so this is interesting. If you notice his base, it is very much not in a city, right? He's got like this rock and these kind of vines, roots, and he's got this like grass and flowers and stuff. Very thematic to the character. But he's in the middle of the freaking city. And so when he's on here, if you paint this and it's all green and stuff like that, it's going to look kind of weird, isn't it? Or inside of a building, right? You want to kind of match them, right? So like Peter Parker here, Spider-Man, it kind of works. It's a rubble. There's some building stuff there. He's in a city, or at least kind of in a metropolitan area, a civilized area where it's like, people have like made their homes. But no, this is like in the freaking jungle. So, I mean, that's a weird choice. I appreciate that it's sculpted. I like that it's themed to him. I don't like that. See, there's two things here. This is both a miniature, but it's also still a game piece. And as any game piece, I think all the game pieces should match, should look like they all belong. So just my 2 cents there. Okay, one thing to note is their feet and hands actually aren't overly large. Sometimes you see those inflated. They actually seem quite to scale. I don't know if it's quite true scale. I think they're maybe a little big, but overall good. The muscle definition, quite nice. A little thinner here than on this one. See how defined this one is? And then it gets a little bit softer here. But overall, I think that's fine. I think this will actually take a wash pretty well. Again, the fingers are actually looking great. I like seeing those separate. The texture on the rock even is nice, which is really good. Again, I love the I don't know what you call it. It's not a necklace. I don't know what you call that. But I really dig that. I mean, he's a pretty simple character. Like the mask, the eyes look good. The little ear things are good. Overall, a cool pose like that. He's crouched kind of in the middle there. Take a look at Winter Soldier. All right, so here's Winter Soldier, and his base is pretty much all rock, and by the looks of it, again, very much not really, themed to the city. Definitely thicker. Like he's got this like baggage stuff on like the sides of his legs and whatnot. Love his arm here. I think that'll look really cool painted. The hair looks good. It's all sculpted everywhere. The mask looks great. Eyes look good. The knife actually isn't that fat. Sometimes you get these really thick ones. Even these Kickstarters, you get these banana blades, as they call them. That actually looks good, and it's angled, so it looks kind of sharp. I really dig that. All these lines look good here. All that's well defined. Notice even on the bottom of his boot, do you see the little tread texture, the little divots, like from the bottom of a shoe? A lot of times they'll make that flat, but no, they didn't. Actually, they're pretty good. The assembly is pretty good. It could be pressed in maybe a tiny bit more, but overall, I am quite happy with this. That looks good. Very much a power stance for him. All right, next up, we have Wasp. Okay, very much a fun one here. So, again, thematic to the character, not so much flying around. Look how, small she is, right? Here's a Phillips screw head right here, and you get a little nuts and bolts and stuff like that, and all that's fun. The wing is great. Look at the texture on that. Do you guys see that? That looks great. That has really good texture on that wing. That looks wonderful. They're a little thick, right? That seems a little thick to me. I would prefer them all to be that, but back at the end here, that's really thick. It's a separate piece they clamp on there. Makes sense, of course. Same with actually this whole bit here that she's attached to. Now, that is one thing that they do with flying characters a lot, is they connect them by like laying there, but then it looks like they're about to trip all the time. So, it's a hard thing to solve. I do like that. Do you see this? Her feet are separate. They're not connected. I appreciate that. And again, the fingers are looking pretty good. I dig that. The suit looks good. I dig that. Face looks good. Overall, I quite like it. And I really like these big old rings here from the screw. That's fun. Definitely a fun one, I feel. Okay, next up we have Vision here. I really like this version of Vision. I think these are all different sculpts, by the way. These are all unique to this game. I believe the one in regular and like the Kickstarter version, the Command version, that's not the Spin Masters, he's like going through a rock. It looks kind of weird. I very much like him like this with this flowing cape. Very separate like that. He's actually kind of angled back, which is kind of interesting. Again, very much a floating thing, right? You see that a lot. If you notice her, see, same thing, arch back as they kind of like glide through there. They like stick their chest out for whatever reason, or their whole body, whatever. Face looks good. Again, you got the little stone there, and the cowl, and the big old cape, and the cape looks great. That's going to take a wash and a highlight super well if you paint it. Again, all these rocks, very few of them seem to belong in a city, which is where they're supposed to be. The feet are actually separated here, which is good. A lot of times that's not the case, especially with a single sculpt there. And this was glued in, I think, quite well. That looks great. How they attach the cape there, that's separate. And in fact, this whole rock is separate, right? So there's the base, him with the rock, and then the cape. And it's all assembled quite well. I like it. And the cape, not too thick, right? Probably right at my limit, but not too bad. All right, next up we have the Hulk. Look how big he is. Oh, I love it. Look at the size difference between him and Spider-Man, right? I mean, that is... I dig it. I dig it. Or let's do Winter Soldier. He's a normal dude. There's a normal dude, and there is the Hulk. I guess I didn't mean to call him normal. You know what I mean. Okay, so obviously super cool. Love the little radioactive sign there. That's cool. Nice base, way up high. I really dig that. A little bit of a runner there. I wish would have been cut a little bit, but that's okay. Yeah, he looks great. Always has that kind of small head. I love the hair swooping back. Again, gives it a nice sense of motion. I also love how that's peeled back like that. That looks great. And it was assembled, again, very, very well. So his top half is separate from his bottom half, and they assembled that. But it looks great. It really does look good. The bottom of the feet are sculpted. The line here separating his pants from his feet actually look quite good. The veins, those came out great. The kind of creases in his hands, those look awesome. Muscle definition is really good. Yeah, no, this is really, really nice. One of my favorites. Definitely a cool one. I dig it. All right, let's look at the enemies. Let's see, we got Zombie Iron Man. Dun dun dun. And again, lighter color would look better in a dark gray, but this is to help you ensure that you know this is the zombie version of a character. The fact that his half his helmet's gone is super cool. I dig that. Same here. It's like this whole side of him's all messed up, but then his arm here is all jacked as well, coming out of his suit. That looks super cool. A whole bunch of little dings and gashes and whatnot. Matches the art style of the comic book really well. I don't know exactly what this is. I'm assuming it's just still rock. Again, kind of odd to get these all rock when it takes place in a city. And everything's all cracked and stuff like that. Looks super good though. Looks awesome. Very classic, thing with his hand out, right, to kind of shoot his laser beams. The finger separated. Fantastic. Really, really good. That being said, and I see this often, when you do a fist, they tend to make it smaller. You see how small his hand is here versus how big it is here? Now, This I see often. I think it's okay here because this is gloved, right? That's in the suit. This is outside of the suit. So I'm going to allow it this time. But I do always kind of wonder about that. And this arm is separate. So same with this one, actually. So they're doing a lot of multi-piece, really nice minis, actually. These are nice. All right. This is a fun one. The cape is fantastic. Both hands outstretched. I dig that. His face, it looks all weathered and skinnier. I dig that. I really like the base build up here. That looks good. Just a fun symbol. Or not a symbol, a fun pose, I guess I should say. And I always have loved his big old cowl. I think that looks cool too. There's not really a whole lot else to say. The trim work on the cape, I think it looks nice. It's definitely nicer here. Here it gets a little skinny there. It's kind of odd, but overall I think it works. Looks good. Yeah, looks great. I like them. All right. Again, a little bit of an arched back here, but I don't think this is really flying because her foot is there. She's more just like, I guess, gliding towards you with her chaos magic. There is a little bit of muddiness here. So this is the bottom of her foot, but it's not super separated. I mean, it's okay, I guess. I would have liked to have seen that a little bit different, especially this right here. So this is like going into what? Like what's going on right here? You tell me, what is that? It's all sorts of just melty. Otherwise, though, this looks good. Love seeing the ribs there. That's super cool. I dig that. Love her big old hair. And again, it's going to look super cool with her classic kind of helmet going on there, too. And she's like pointing one little finger at you. I dig that. That being said, it looks like she's missing a finger. So I see 2 fingers here, really. 3. So she's got 3 fingers and a thumb. Yeah, it is what it is. Again, a little melty right here as well. This looks good. This is all super defined. So that's good on that side. Yeah, so, and I really like the gap here. That's nice they were able to include that by making this a separate piece, which is glued very well, by the way. And yeah, very similar kind of base there. And finally, we have good old Captain America. Poor old Captain America. Geez, it looks like his legs not even attached. Where the heck? I'm assuming there's a bone in there somewhere. I mean, it's almost clear cut. Man, just hit him in the leg. He won't be able to chase you at all. The cool base. I dig all the symbols and stuff you get. I'm glad all of his symbols are still there. So he's got a star. He's got his A. He's got the wings. He'll definitely look the part. Very, ripped clothing. This texture, by the way, I hope you can hear that. Awesome. The shield looks great. It does look quite straight. Sometimes you'll see little waves in this, but this looks good. Love the clasp on here. That looks nice. There's a little bit of a separation right here. So these lines attach. These lines here don't attach. They stop there. That's kind of awkward. The lines should keep going. Otherwise, though, yeah, the assembly looks good. Build looks good. And what a cool little pose, too. Not too bad at all. Guys, that's it. We did it. That's the whole game. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this unboxing. Stay tuned for the review. I'm gonna get some game time on with this like tomorrow. So I'll definitely get my thoughts on this. I'll let you guys know what I think about this $35 Zombicide game with Marvel minis in it. All right, with that out of the way, take care, guys. Bye.